anyways, what were you up to earlier today?
Pacing around after drinking too much coffee, trying to like work, but
How much is too much coffee for you?
it's more just like I like didn't eat enough and then like chugged some coffee, but usually I just do like one cold brew a day. But yeah, it was very. I mean, the guy told me, he was like, "Yeah, I haven't cut it yet. It's probably pretty strong." And like, I'm like, "Yeah, I'm like existential crisis. Let's fucking go."
It's a lot I have to figure out.
Yeah, but it's fine. I'll get through it.
Awesome.
Yeah, you know, gotta ride that wave.
Yeah, it's part of life. All right, hey everyone, welcome to the Nashville Artists. I'm Jordan, and today Zach Small is here.
What's up?
Awesome. Thank you for coming back over and doing this again.
Absolutely.
So, where are you from?
Originally, I'm from San Diego, California. Yeah, spent most of my life there, and then moved to Chicago, and then down here. So
Sweet. Do you have any siblings?
yeah, I got a lot of siblings.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I like to joke that my dad is a franchise maker because he's had like 3 wives and 2 kids with each of them, and like adopted kids, and he's got like 8 kids. Wow. So like, I only really like grew up with I like lived with my 2 younger brothers, but when I'd go visit my dad, I'd see my other siblings, and I still have a healthy relationship with them.
Is there like a wide age range?
Yeah, my youngest brother that's related to me is just turned 18, and I'm 33, and my oldest sister is like in her 40s.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
You got a wee little brother and a older sister?
Yeah, she's got kids. Like my dad's like a grandfather, so
wow,
it'll be funny when he's like,
he's a grandfather and he has 18 years. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know, it's wild.
That's kind of how my dad didn't have me till he was 48.
Oh wow, yeah.
So,
bit older.
Yeah. But so are they into bikes or art or anything?
They like riding bikes. No, I'm kind of like the only one that like is into like art and stuff, I guess. Yeah, like making things. Yeah, I don't know. I think they're like, my one brother makes pizza. He like runs some pizza places. I think he appreciates art, but he's not really like on the making side of things.
I understand.
So, yeah,
he's on the appreciating side of things.
Yeah, and he's ridden bikes. Like my younger brother that I lived with, he like worked at the bike shop I worked at for a while, but it was more just like, hey, here's a job. So I was able to give him the job. And, he liked riding bikes, but he was like, anything outside of getting super obsessive about it wasn't really his thing. He's just like, yeah, just ride a bike to school and work, and it's easy, and it's good exercise. But
it kind of ends there.
Yeah, I mean, we've been on some bike tours together. Like his friends rode, but he didn't really get involved with it at the same level that I did. So I tried. Like
tried to get him into it.
Yeah, and then like my brother that does pizza, it's like, I think whenever he's riding a bike, I'm like, times are rough right now because he can't afford a car. He's like, man, I gotta just fucking like get on a bicycle to go to work. It's usually like when he's kind of broke or saving up for something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Is that back in Chicago?
This is in San Diego. Yeah. So.
Well, at least he has the decent weather to ride around in.
Oh yeah,
all the time.
Yeah.
If he has to ride his bike.
Yeah, riding in Chicago sucks. It's either hotter than hell or it's like just really gross winter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did it for years. I mean, I lived there for almost 8 years.
Yeah. So. I remember talking to you at one point. You would say you would like ride between buildings and then like take little breaks and then like.
Oh yeah. Well, I was a messenger in Chicago, and did like courier work. So that's actually how I met my wife. And she brought me down here because she's from here. But we were both bike couriers and worked for the same company in Chicago. So yeah, we would suffer in the middle of winter, deliver food, deliver other stuff, and if you're a bike messenger, it's like it's this cool job because you're like, you can drink 10 beers every night
and then burn it all off.
Burn it all off, and then make like $1,000 a week and like live pretty well.
Yeah.
And you've just got like a crew of like other, young degenerates. So it's like, oh yeah, it's slow right now. Like if you're slow, everybody's slow. So it's like, let's go meet in an alleyway and drink fucking beers. Let's
break.
Let's go to the beach or do something like that, or like, and you just have your radios on you, and the second your dispatcher's like, all right, work's picking up.
Oh wow.
And then you like hop back on your bike and go like deliver shit.
It's like a whole nother lifestyle, bohemian lifestyle.
Oh, totally, yeah. And it's just like, there's just like people from all over the country that like come to go live in Chicago, and like either to like be artists or do other things. And then it's just like, oh, here's this like really easy job. It's not easy, but it's like physical, but it's like mindless.
Yeah, it's not mentally taxing.
It's not mentally taxing. You're just like, all I gotta do is ride my fucking bike and, like bring food to rich people and, make pretty damn good money and like, fuel either, some people are into it because they're into bikes. Some people are into it because like it's, not a non-committal job. So you could like tour with your band most of the time. And then when you're in town, you just pick up like delivery work and do it. And like, so everyone seemed to have like a side hustle outside of
biking,
outside of the messenger work. And like mine was building bicycles, and and it was also like an easy clientele base right there. So
yeah, you just sell it to your
other couriers. Like a lot of
your bike looks a little too heavy.
Yeah,
you want a lighter bike.
Yeah, a lot of the early dudes, it would be like either modifying their existing bikes or like building them a custom bike. Like, so that was cool. Like a lot of those early bikes were all like word of mouth, and that's kind of like where the Amigo name came from. It was like,
that's so industrial.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, you're an Amigo. Like, yeah, I'll build you a bike. Like, you're a homie, you're a friend.
Sure.
So yeah,
that's badass, dude. Yeah, I love it. The style and everything looks really clean, and it looks very substantial. Like you could take something.
Yeah. I think like the branding for me is like really important, and the branding kind of like it kind of harkens back to like my Southern California like surf and skate culture roots. But the overall like shape of the frame and how I like choose to like form like the tubes and stuff is like very industrial, and I feel like that comes from like the time I spent in the Midwest, Chicago, Chicago, and like
that's the
very industrial, like
birthplace of industrial music, basically.
Yeah, dude, Al Jorgensen.
Dude, I'm a huge.
I've seen him.
Dude, I've seen him too.
He's like always at like White Sox games.
Did I have a talk with you about Al Jorgensen once?
No.
Okay, because I love fucking Ministry.
Yeah, Ministry's great.
Yeah, I saw them when they played at the Ryman.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
dude, that would be a crazy place to see them.
It was, and he's like 63 years old and still
he's old,
rolling like hard.
Yeah,
I'm just like, good. I have his autobiography next to my bed. I'm reading.
Hell yeah, dude.
I mean, awesome. His story's insane.
But, yeah, he's wild, man.
So, what were you into as a little kid?
Oh man, like kind of skating mostly. Like skateboarding was like a big part of my life. I grew up like in the city of San Diego, which like I don't know, is rare and rare to like find. I think people that like grew up like actually in the city. It's like most people I meet here, because there's a lot of Californians moving here. Right. Most of them are like rich North County people, or like grew up in the suburbs, and then they're like, oh, where are you from? I'm like, San Diego. And they're like, oh, me too. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And they're like, what neighborhood? Like, where'd you grow up? And I'll be like, City Heights. And they're like, where's that? And I'm like,
San Diego.
I'm like, yo, it's downtown San Diego. If you don't know City Heights, you ain't from San Diego. Like if you don't know the inner city, you don't know Logan. Like to me, it's like, I'm just like, you don't know your own city. And there's like a lot of those people. So like, I'm pretty prideful of like where I'm from.
Yeah.
It was like a rough spot to like grow up, at least. Like, now it's like fucking so nice.
Yeah.
Now the real estate's crazy. Like seeing what my mom's like house went for, like I'll sometimes look on the market and be like, holy shit, like that piece of shit sold for like $1.2 million. Like I wish like my mom was seeing that, but like when we lived there, it was like, you know, that neighborhood was like targeted by like big banks, and like they had like bankers coming to like church trying to be like, you can afford a house here, let's give you a loan that's like predatory. And like, you know, my mom bought this house and it was like crazy on the payments, and then like during the financial crisis it was just foreclosed on and taken from her.
Damn.
You know, she would still pay, you know, and they just like, they ended up saying they lost payments, and like they just like basically eradicated a whole neighborhood of people. You know, like I started to see like every friend start to move out of there, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, why are you moving? It's like, oh, they raised our rent by 50%. You're like,
Damn, trying
yo,
to
that's fucked up.
uproot you.
Yeah, and then you like look, you know, I go to like the old neighborhood and it's like filled with like, you know, breweries and like fancy food spots, and you're just like, damn,
Bougie.
like, man, when that stuff started to come in, like, you know, we were like, people in the neighborhood were like gnarly, because like it was still like it was rough enough where like it was like, oh, here's this like bougie person coming to this like weird new restaurant, like I'm gonna rob you. You know, like, yeah, like what you doing around here, like, you know.
Wow, it's very territorial.
Yeah, well, like, yeah, like because we're like starving, you know. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna strong arm rob you, I want some fucking money.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. You
Have
know?
you robbed someone before?
No,
Oh.
no, I'm not gonna say that on camera.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. Just messing with you. So I think last time we were talking about like what kind of inspired your bikes, and we were talking about the Goonies, like
Oh yeah, yeah. I think,
like what first got you into designing bikes.
yeah. I mean, I think what first got me into bicycles was like an escape. So like, I mean, kind of like playing on the rough neighborhood thing. Like, yeah, my parents were never like solid. You know, like they were always fighting each other and shit. And so like anything I could do to get out the house, like it was skateboarding at first, and then it was like, well, I want to be able to get out longer. So I started riding bikes a lot, and yeah, being able to ride bikes was like a way to like kind of get out of my shitty situation. And you know, a lot of that, like to me, like I remember like the first time seeing the Goonies and was like, oh,
They ran away.
fuck yeah, they just ran away. Like there's just kids like going wild, doing their own thing. Like, you know, like everyone wants like a fucking, you know, a water slide in their own cave, you know, like, and like whether that's something you imagine in your own head or like you kind of create that by like exploring.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think exploration was like something that kind of like saved me
Yeah.
from like, you know, the like kind of demons that were at home. So, and I mean, it's it reflects in the work, like the Bugout, you know, like, you know,
Get out quick.
yeah, I designed that when I was like, it was during the pandemic, and I like, you know, hit up this graphic designer I knew, and I was like, hey, this is my general idea. You know, like I want to build a bike that like you can load up with camping gear. You can just like roll out of wherever you're at because shit has hit the fan. You can bug out. You can go like live under a rock, go like, you know, smoke weed with Sasquatch and like live in the fucking boonies until like shit settles, you know?
Right.
So it's kind of got this like schizoid, you know, like gotta get out of here, like, you know, escape.
Drop of the hat.
Yeah, you know, and it's like, you know, most people aren't going to be doing that with this bike. You know, a lot of people will bike pack with it, you know, but it was like, I wanted to,
The intention.
the intention and like the marketing of it was like, you know, I wanted to like, you know, kind of create this idea in the customer's head that like, yeah, this is the bike that you're going to like, you're going to just ride out into the mountains, you know, and you're just going to go camp and be self-sufficient and like, you know, go wild on and like explore and like experience all these things, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, a lot of that's like marketing fluff and like, you know, that's selling any product. But,
sure.
You know, at the end of the day, like you can do that on
exactly.
This bike. You know, like it is totally capable of that.
Just highlighting one of the many millions of options.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and so that was kind of, you know, I start with a bike. I start with kind of, in my mind, like the idea of not necessarily even the style of riding you want to do, but like I start with this like, I think of the paint and the overall like feeling of the bike before I even start to like consider the geometry or the tubes I use or the parts I make. Like that kind of follows secondary to what I do. So
Yeah, it's very unassuming. It's not obnoxious.
yeah, I mean, I've got I consider pretty simple aesthetic. Like
No.
I like big, heavy, like, and it's a camp bike. It's tan. It's supposed to get beat up.
Yeah,
It's supposed to
exactly.
like after years look like an overripe banana and just like, look like it's just been like, destroyed. And
Yeah.
that means it's like been through a lot. You've been through a lot with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I've done like a lot of like bike tours, and it's something like that's like that I really love. And so I haven't actually done it in a while. So like also the impetus to create this bike was like I wanted a bike that I wanted to go like camp out on and do those things. So
Yeah, I think I talked to you like a year ago or so, and you had biked. I can't remember from where to where. I think you went like 100 miles or something like that.
yeah, I
north, and then you like went across.
Yeah, so I did like we do this thing every year where we do like a single speed century. So we ride single speed bikes and we do 100 miles. Nice. And this year I did that same ride, and then I also sponsor a gravel race, which like a lot of the geometry I did on this bike was inspired by like the roads out in Hickman County. And this gravel race is called Gosh Darn, and you can choose. It's like 20 miles, a 40 miler, or you could go whole hog and do the 100 miler. But it's intense, man.
It's all gravel.
It's all and I mean, gravel means like a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Like gravel racing in like the Midwest is like rolling farm roads that are like muddy, and then like gravel riding in like the Southwest is like deserty, and there might be a lot of climbs and single track. But like out here, like Hickman at least is like in Middle Tennessee, it's like gnarly Jeep roads that are like chert and like rutted out, and so it's almost like wide track mountain biking. And so this bike, it can fit like super large tires. It's got like a longer geometry to it to allow you to like have confidence like going down these hills. Like, I mean, there's like rock faces that are like flat that you can like jump off of and catch air and stuff if you're not careful. And you're doing 100 miles of that, and like creek crossings, and like, so I did that this year again, and I sponsor it every year, and it's fun. So
it's from where to where?
So it starts in like Hickman, and it'll go down to like Bucksnort. Like there's this like famous loop we all do, and it kind of came out. There's a guy that organizes. Dave, he like grew up out there. Like his family has property there, and it started in his parents' like backyard. And we would meet there, and we'd do this like crazy 60-mile ride, the route he created that he would ride out there. And like because he's local, all the like people know us. They're like cheering us on and shit like that. They're like hell yeah, this is cool, But it's gotten big. Like there's about 300 people that attended last year.
And this is in Tennessee?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And so we're at like, we started this 5-star retreat out there. And yeah, we camp out for the weekend, and we like have a big old party, and we do this ride. It's super fun.
Yeah, fulfilling.
Yeah, it's fulfilling, and it's hard. It's hard. It took me just over 10 hours to complete it this year. So like, and I did that single speed also, which was crazy. I don't think I'll ever do that again.
Damn, all at once?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Burning calories.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
What did you eat? A bunch of gels?
I hate gels. Yeah. I like real food. Yeah. So, like, I had, like, this little burrito that I packed. Nice. You can take the boy out of Southern California. You can't take Southern California out the boy. Like, I was, like, packed myself a little burrito and, like, ate on that. And then mile 60, my secret is I microdose a little bit of mushrooms to, like, make myself not think about my knees. Right. And just, like, a euphoria boost. Right. Because at mile 60, you're, like, pretty fucking cashed. And then, you know, that, and I'll take like 800 milligrams of ibuprofen because my knees at that point are usually like fucking screaming at me. Yeah. And then it's like, all right. Usually, like, you know, takes about half an hour for them to hit. And then it's like mile 70 on. I'm just like, hey, I got a smile. I'm like pepped up. Like, all right. You know, not enough to like start seeing the fucking, you know, trees move, but like just enough to just like make
the energy.
Just, yeah. So that's my performance enhancing drug.
Ooh, dude, yeah,
little psilocybin.
Oh yeah, dude. Gives you that little jolt, just that little
that's
that awareness.
Just enough.
Just awake.
Yeah. So
you feel a little bit more than awake.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's awesome. So what was like the first, I think, did you say which was the first style of bike you designed?
The first bike I made was like actually a bike for myself. It was just kind of like a city bike. It was just like kind of like a round town bike that I wanted to make. I still have it. It's in my basement. But I mean, I built a lot of trash when I first started. Like it was just like anything that I wanted to try out. I didn't really like develop a style because I was just trying all these different styles. And yeah, I built bikes for friends, and like, you know, a lot of those were mostly just like city oriented bikes. But I built like track bikes for people and road bikes and, you know, touring bikes and that kind of thing. And they were all different, you know. It's like I just didn't really have like a focused design, and I didn't have like a focused aesthetic. But I think that's kind of like every artist has to kind of go through that to like finally like find what is it that, you know, you like. And like I still like, you know, I play around with stuff. Like I change stuff up, or like, you know, I get inspired by like other art and I try to like, you know, channel that into there. But, you know, a lot of the stuff I do is like utilitarian. So, you know, like I design and like machine these parts. So like this yoke, this is really necessary because it kind of fits the tire and the chainring, and there's a lot of stuff you got to fit in on modern bikes that you know, necessitates designing and machining pieces like this. So, you know, that was my first step. Was like when I knew I wanted to be able to fit a certain size tire, I wanted to use a certain width of shell and be able to run like certain types of cranks. You know, I had to like come up with those solutions. And so like I start out in the computer, but most of it's like very utilitarian. Like I'm not try to make it look beautiful, but like it's got to serve the purpose first, you know. Mm-hmm. And then like within those lines, you know, it's like, okay, like these are you know, the lines I've got to draw in. And, you know, then I'll start to kind of like play with like, you know, fillets and like the design of it and that sort of thing. So
nice. So when you first built your first bike or whatever, where did you already have access to like a machine, like where you?
Yeah, when I built my first bike, I like studied under the tutelage of this guy Rob Robertson, who's like a famous San Diego like frame builder, and he you know, he just kind of showed me the old school way. So like, I mean, you can build a bicycle with a vise and some files and a hacksaw. You know, like it's slow and it takes time, but like anybody can build a bike with really simple hand tools. You know, a torch, you know, some files and a hacksaw. You know, or you could TIG weld it too. You know, but you don't need machines or that sort of thing. So when I first learned, it was the old school way. It was fillet brazing. So that was like using brass and a like you know, like a torch, so like flame, to melt the brass and to join the metal that way.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so brass works pretty cool because like you're not actually welding the material. You're just laying brass, which is a lower melting point material, and you're kind of creating like a cast around it. And it's so tight and microscopic that it holds the tubes together. But technically, it's not welded. It's just
melted, or like
yeah, it's just melted so close that yeah, it like hugs the material and holds the bike together. Whereas TIG welding is like you're actually melting and adding filler metal.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so it is joined together.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's the difference between welding and then what was the
brazing.
brazing.
Yeah. And then there's like lug work too. Like that's like silver brazing, which is like similar to like sweating like copper pipes for plumbing. The joke in like the frame building world is like, I should have been a plumber, like because you can get good at like sweating, lugs. You can sweat any tube, and also you can make
Sweat.
Yeah, so like you get it hot with a torch, you get it sweaty, and then like you add silver and it just pulls into that joint and it joins the tubes together. And any plumber could like build a bicycle with that skill, if they're good at sweating,
Wow.
Yeah, silver brazing.
Welding, brazing, sweating.
Yeah. Yeah, jargon.
I'm learning, yeah. I'm not used to these terms.
Yeah.
Cool. So how long ago was it when you built your first?
It's been about 12 years now. Let me think. I was 19 years old. 19, 20? 20 years old. So yeah.
12 years old. Wow.
Yeah, 12 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And you probably have no idea the number of bikes you've made between then and now. Or do you?
Oh yeah. It's it just popped over 50. Wow. Yeah. So which is still, that's like low numbers. I mean,
yeah.
For being in it 12 years, like 50 is like really low. But there were periods of time when I didn't have shop space, especially when I moved to Chicago, like shop space or money. And, like I've always been like, kind of a poor punk kid. So, I'm cheap, and like all my tools that I use to build, like I don't, I think a lot of people that are in the frame building, like there's like always a joke that it's like, oh, what's your wife do? Because like there's not really a lot of money in this. It's like really hard to justify building bicycle frames for a living. It's really like it's a tough business. And yeah, most guys doing it, like, yeah, either generational wealth or they like, they've got rich wives, that are able to support them. I didn't have that support. So like I kind of just like bootstrapped it, which I hate that term personally, but
out of necessity.
Yeah, out of like the necessity to create, I would like try and save up for tubes and tools and like make my own tools when I couldn't afford them, and so yeah, a lot of this stuff I got at a discount, and I'm always like trying to get a deal on stuff.
Plus, as much as it's nice to get paid for your art and everything, I think just the fact that you're doing it is,
yeah, totally.
Me, the cherry on top. You know what I mean? As long as you enjoy doing it,
yeah,
that shines through.
Yeah, and I never really thought I would like make a career out of it. That was never my intention. In fact, when I first learned, Rob, the guy that taught me, he told me not to make a career out of it. He had been doing it for almost 40 years at that point. He's been at it for 50 years, and it's like he's been homeless at times. He's worked shitty factory jobs. I don't think he's ever made more than $15 an hour. And like through the grace of like knowing people and like being friends in the industry, like he's like always been like helped out. But like he's lived his life, similar to like an aesthetic where it's just like he has nothing, but he's got his thing that he creates, and that's kind of cool. But that was always like,
scenic kind of lifestyle.
Yeah. A warning that I heeded was like, being like, yeah, this is a rough thing. It's cool to do it as a hobby, but like doing it as a profession is really hard. Like I liken it almost to like becoming a professional skateboarder.
Yeah.
It's like you could have all the tricks in your bag. You could be like fucking so good at like, you could just like be the best, skateboarder, like, physically, and like able to do all these tricks, but like you also got to be cool. You got to be like marketable, and like that's the thing is like there are plenty of guys that I've seen that like have all of the capabilities of like building amazing bike frames, but like, like, if they don't have like that market, and they're not marketing it and selling it to people, which is the hardest part about the business. Like the making of the bicycle is easy.
Sure.
The business side is the hardest part. And so, I knew that if I were to like build, frames and sell them, that like they needed to be cool, and like luckily I grew up like kind of in that like mecca of like skateboarding culture. Like I know what's like cool, like I'm a punk, and like what's cool to me like seems to be like resonates with other people, which I'm happy about, like
you can definitely feel the California vibe with the, I love that.
Yeah, so I know that like I know that like I gotta like, I really go for like good,
like Santa Cruz kind of
I go like, really heavy on the branding and that kind of thing, because like it resonates with people. So that's helpful.
The etching or whatever.
Yeah, that sells bikes. To me, it's like the welding doesn't really sell the bike. The like frame material, like
what makes it pop or
different? What makes it different? What makes a person want to like spend close to $3,000 to like ride this piece of art?
Stallion.
Yeah. But and that's that's kind of like led into like where I'm shifting my business model too. So like as of recent, since we last talked, I am going to get my designs manufactured overseas in Taiwan. So I'm trying to employ a factory because, like I was like a dirt poor like bike kid. I didn't really get into building bicycles to like sell them to fucking rich assholes. Like I wanted to build a bicycle because I wanted to like have a nice custom bike that fit me, but also like wanted to create something on my own, and like create like what I thought was a cool bike in my head. And like I love my customers. They've like supported me, like my fans. I love my fans, They're the shit, like, and most of them, like most of the people that find me like aren't like, they're not just like rich assholes, but like, like who's gonna like be able to afford, a $2,800 frame and fork bike, and then you got to put nice parts on it. Like at the end of the day, like it ends up being like between $7,000 and $10,000. It's like, who can afford that? Like rich people can afford that. And like I didn't really get into the business to just sell bikes to rich guys, toys to rich guys.
Right, toys. It'll sit in the garage.
Yeah, or it'll get like, they do get ridden. Like the Bugout really does get ridden. It's very utilitarian. There are locals here that are like, rocking it, and I'm so glad that they have the means to like buy bikes from me. They'd be buying bikes from somebody else, and they've got like something that's really cool.
Trek or Giant or something.
Yeah, and they're supporting my art, but I want to get into a scale that's different. Like I want to be able to like, get into like this like mid-range, more affordable. It's still going to be a boutique brand. It's still my designs, but like being able to like get them made in Taiwan means that they'll be a lot cheaper.
You'll have a spectrum of customers then.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'll be able to sell 100 bikes a year versus 30, and like,
or like some super nice bikes to special clients.
Yeah, I'll still do custom stuff and like still do like really, like one-off style frames and stuff like that. But with the Bugout, this was a experiment in production, and it doesn't really make sense for me, the guy wearing all the hats, to be the guy that's like welding and that sort of thing. And I've tried to find like, I've tried to find welders and like maybe tool up and like create more of a manufacturing space instead of trying to go overseas. But like the problem is if you are good enough at welding bicycles, you're good enough to like weld aerospace, really. And I can't pay that money. Like I could pay somebody like $25 an hour, and it's like if they have those skills, they have to like really love riding bikes to commit to that, because they could be making $45 an hour somewhere else, And Taiwan has been building bikes for people for most of the bikes you go see in a bike shop are built in Taiwan. Like they have really skilled welders. They actually pay the welders. The labor is not cheap. What makes it cheap is they have the metal factory right there. Their tubing is getting made right next door, and they already have like, you know, tooling ready to go to like.
And they've been doing it for so long.
They've been doing it for so long to crank it out, and we just don't have factories like that anymore. And if I wanted to like build my own little bicycle factory, it would cost me like 3 times as much as getting, you know, a minimum order quantity over there to be built, and it would still be this premium product that like, you know, like it's hard to sell to most of the market, you know.
Right.
Most people are like, whoa, that bike costs that much, you know, and I'm like, yeah, like it has to, like I have to survive, you know. And it's hard because it means that like I actually don't make that much money even though I sell the bikes for this much, because it's hard to find 50 people to spend that much money on a bike, you know.
Right. It is.
You know, it's like
online, you have to really hit the online.
Yeah. So like, and I've always kind of fancied myself, you know, I am good enough at the fabricating part to get the ideas out, but it's like I'm not the best welder, I'm not the best fit up guy, you know, like I'll be the first to say that, but like I think I'm a good designer.
Yeah,
you know,
you've done it for so long, you know each process well.
Yeah,
you know how you could delegate the work to someone else.
Exactly, and I know how it's supposed to work, and I also like, I don't think anybody can do like what I can do in my brand. You know, like there are different builders that do different things that they, you know, I can't do what they can do. And you know, with custom bikes, that's always something I'll get emails, guys being like, "Oh, I really like your bike brand. Can you like build me a bike that looks like this guy's bike?" And I go, "No, have Adam Sklar build you that bike, because he's really good at it." You know, like I'll lose a customer to be like, "I build bikes the way I build bikes." You know, like they have to look like what I do, because nobody else can do what I can do. You know,
you got integrity with your brand.
Yeah, and like so the like, you know, the graphic design, the like Saturday morning cartoon fucking craziness, you know, like that's like my whole shtick. You know, it's like, you know, like I'm always coming up with crazy ideas, and I've got a road bike model that's coming out, so you know, I'm trying to kind of push more of the production style bikes, get people, you know, be able to sell a bike for $1,400, which is still expensive. It's still a really nice product, really, but like, nice, you know, I think it's easier to swallow if it's like, man, I'm buying this really sick product designed by this dude in Nashville that's unlike anything else, and like out the door, it's like I'm gonna spend $5,000, but like, man, that thing is gonna last me forever, right? And you know, B, it's gonna be super fun, and you know, like I'm kind of supporting a smaller boutique brand, and it's better than buying Trek or Specialized. You know, it's like people need those bikes. Like those bikes are important.
Serve a purpose.
You know, they serve a purpose. Like some people are just like, yeah, man, I just like need to get to work, or I just want something that I don't care about that sort of thing. But like, I don't think Specialized or Trek is like really pushing like the culture of cycling, which, you know, I think small boutique brands like myself, like we're trying to push the culture of cycling, you know, and trying to get more people on bikes. Like, you know, we talked about this before, but like I try to like ride my bike around and like make people like realize like, no, riding bikes is tight. Like it's super fun. It's cool. Like, and riding in Nashville, it's a little hairy, but like, honestly, like, I'll see like homies that live like 3 or 4 blocks away from like Vinyl Tap, and they're driving their car there. And I'm like, and they're like housing 4 or 5 beers. I'm like, yo, man, like, you should ride a bike. Like, you can do that wasted. You're not going to hurt anybody. Like, you're not going to crash in a Dandelion fucking salon if you're like, you know, wasted on your fucking bicycle. You might fuck yourself up, but like, you're not going to kill anybody. You know, and it's like, I'm like, yeah, like, you know, rock a bike that's like got flat pedals on it. You can ride with your cowboy boots on. Like, you don't gotta wear a fucking, you know, you don't gotta wear a helmet, you know, like you know, I'd recommend it if you're like going over like 20 miles an hour, but like if you're just like going down the block, like you can just like go ride your bike, you know?
Yeah, feel like a kid again.
Yeah, feel like a kid again. Like ride with your homies to like the fucking bar or something.
Yeah, when you're like with you and your boys, you're like, let's go ride bikes.
Yeah, it's like to me, I'm like, yeah, it's, you know, sure, bikes can be like dorky and stuff like that, you know, but it's like they don't have to be. Like,
Gotta lean into life. You know?
Yeah, I think it's cool. Like you're mobbing like the Goonies, man. You're mobbing on your like fucking BMX bikes.
Dude,
you just
that bike or whatever where it has the little back to it, the little metal. I love those bikes.
Oh, yeah,
I always wanted one of those after I saw that movie. The little back, like where you could have two people on the bike, kind of. It's got like a chopper ride. Yeah. I always thought those bikes were super sick.
So yeah, I mean, I just want to see like more people riding bikes and like realizing that like it's like super fun to like go ride your bike to a camp spot or you know, I do a ride like every first Friday of the month now in the summer where we ride out to Percy Priest Lake and we like it's mellow, it's all on the greenway. Like the greenway system out here is like awesome. Like if you're trying to ride all the way to the lake, you can do it. You never have to get on a road. You have to get on like 2 roads to like maybe get to the greenway and then like you cross Bell Road to get to the lake. But it's a super mellow ride. We do it like 10 miles an hour, which is like pretty slow on a bike, you know, and we don't leave anybody behind. And it takes like 45 minutes an hour to get out there. We grab beer at Jackson Down Liquors by Party City. We jump in the lake. We dip our bits in the lake. Yeah, we hang out, we talk, and then, you know, we ride back. And like, it's like, you know, all in all, like we start at 5 and it usually ends around 9. It's like a little 4-hour endeavor. Like you end up doing like 22 miles, you know?
Yeah, not too bad.
It's not too bad. It's not, you know, and I like, you know, I'm always like trying to get novices to come out because it really is, it's mellow. Like we're not hauling ass. We're just trying to have fun.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like, I think some people get intimidated about riding a bike out here. Like there's a lot of hills and that sort of thing. It's like, well, don't ride a single speed. You know, like I ride a single speed around, but I'm like fucking crazy.
You're a boss.
Yeah, you know, like, you know, and like it kills my knees. So like, you know, really I shouldn't be like, you know, I really gotta like lay low on that. But you know, if you got a bike with like good gears on it, it's like you can pretty much get around anything. There might be a couple of hills you got to walk up, but like there ain't no shame in that. You know, just like walk up it. You know,
if you walk up a hill, and that's like it means you're gonna ride down the other side.
Oh yeah, which is like so much fun.
Yeah, exactly. So there's always
bombing hills is the shit. Yeah.
So. Yeah. Okay, so we kind of talked a little bit about this last time, but what kind of engineer would you say you are?
I would just call myself an engineer, like, you know, mechanical engineer. You know, I used to like refrain from using the word engineer because I never like officially got an engineering degree. I never even finished like a traditional bachelor's degree. I went to school for industrial design. It was way too expensive. I felt like I got like roped into a loan that, you know, I shouldn't have been roped into, like a lot of people.
At a young age.
Yeah, you know, and it was pretty terrible. I had to like drop out to like help my mom out, like pay for the mortgage and that sort of thing. So it, you know, school was always this thing that like, you know, my mom's a high school teacher, so it's like always this thing like, you got to do it. This is the only way to get up in life, you know, like, and I just think that it was like, it just felt like for a certain class of people, it was like daycare and like fucking a party place for them to like kind of, you know, network with other rich people and like get some bullshit job out of it. Like I didn't think anyone was there to learn. I felt like everyone was there to like find a job, you know, or like, you know, they're just going to get a job with their dad's fucking business anyway. And, you know, like I was like, you know, working in the food hall to make it all work.
I have to make it work.
I got to make it work. And it was just like, it sucked because I, you know, you're serving, it was just degrading, you know, it'd be like, you know, in the cafeteria and like kids would come in and they're like all fucking laughing, like, oh, remember that party last night? And they're like, do you work here? And I'm like, yeah, I work here because it's like, I have to like afford to go here. And they'd be like, you know, and you're just like, damn, dude, like,
not everyone has.
What the fuck am I sweating my dick off for? Like, it was like bullshit, man.
Yeah.
And I just felt like, not to be arrogant, I just felt like I just like was smarter than everybody. Like, yeah. You know, like I just like, you know, there were like people that I've met through the travels that I'm just like always like impressed by their intelligence and their ability to design things. But it was like the majority of people I was like stuck being around. I was like, fuck, I'm gonna have to work with you assholes. Like you're a fucking dolt, man.
They buy into the consciousness of the public.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, dude, like, you know, realizing that it was just like, oh, I have to be nice to you people and this is just a big old circle jerk, man. You know, like I'm just like, this sucks. And it's like, it's why I feel like, you know, in certain industries, like especially design, it really is like a circle jerk. It's just like people being like, wow, wow, you're amazing. You know, and it's just like, that shit's ugly, you know? Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah, I can
I don't
definitely.
want to sound like too jaded about it, but
No,
yeah.
I mean, it should,
But no, I ended up going to a trade school to get like welding certification like later on. And so, yeah, I ended up like learning like the hard, you know, the actual like hard parts of the craft, you know, which was like machining stuff, designing stuff three-dimensionally in CAD programs, programming the machines to like actually cut the shit out of metal, and then, you know, also welding and like other parts of fabrication, you know, the math behind all of it. But, you know, this is like, so here's some bullshit, you know, like speaking of college, like I went to this, it was a, you know, it was a community college that had trade programs. It was mostly through like Ford. Ford would like send their employees there to get like additional training. So it was a cool school. We had like a lot of really good equipment. And I was thinking, man, like maybe I will like transfer to like an engineering program after this. Like, you know, so I was like, well, I'll do the community college thing. I'll try and take these classes because they're cheap here. And like it's smaller class sizes. It's not like a big auditorium of people like you'll find in the university. So, you know, I was taking physics classes, calculus. Um, you know, I took all the hard math classes that I could, basically like every single one that they offered, thinking, oh, this will be great to transfer. And, you know, I talked to, you know, a person at Purdue, which is a great engineering school, about transferring for engineering, mechanical engineering. And they told me I needed to retake basically all of my physics and math classes at their school. And I was like, well, why? And they're like, well, your college isn't up to our scrutiny. My like physics, and this is physics with calculus, you know, that professor like was a professor at University of Chicago, which is the best physics program in like the nation.
yeah.
Like they designed rocket systems. And it's like, you're gonna tell me that like this is not as good of an education? I mean, they would get like terrible reviews because people would be like, this is Prairie State College, like not U of C, like the teachers are too hard. And they're like, physics is physics, man. You know, you can't handle it, like, sorry,
Cut out.
you're probably not cut out. You know, like the two professors I had for physics were gnarly. Like they're really tough. You know, and it was the same rigor of University of Chicago. So like that really just like that's really, you know, that's the thing. Is like the schools are just trying to make a fucking bunch of money, man.
Right.
And it's like it's bullshit. You know, it's total bullshit. So, you know, that's a long-winded way of me being like, never wanted to call myself an engineer because I never really got a degree. I always like felt like, well, I can't call myself an engineer. I'm not, you know, like. But I had another frame builder guy. He's like, of course you're an engineer.
You've been doing
Like you're
it.
solving fucking problems
Yeah.
mechanically. Like
Yeah.
of course you're an engineer. Like that is what an engineer does. Like you're very specific to bicycles, but like you're doing engineering work, and it is funny. I've met engineers that have tried to build bicycles and they can't fucking do it. They're like stupid. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, you know,
specialties.
Yeah, and I do like I do other like design work for people. Like I do a lot of freelance design stuff. Like that's really helped keep my brand afloat. Is like doing other welding fabrication and then design work. And it's like I've done like motorsport stuff. You know, like I've been designing like car parts for this guy that's here in town that does like specialty Mercedes, and like that's like cool. Like I learned that all through my journey of like trying to like build the bicycle that I had in my head, you know. So, you know, it's led me into a career in like metal fabrication.
Yeah.
Not just bicycle fabrication.
It's one of those things where it's not always about what you're getting, but what you're becoming.
Exactly, yeah. And like you know, I get a lot of people that are like, I want to learn how to build a bike, and it's like, I'll teach you, but like, you know what you should do is like you should like take some welding classes. Like you should learn how to do that, because if you want to do that, it'll strengthen those skills, those hard skills that you'll get, you know. and you might realize that like maybe you didn't want to build bicycles, maybe you wanted to build other things, you know, and like now you can because you have that ability. Like building bikes is really it's like hard mode like fabrication because like
has to be able to sustain all the
pressure, and the tolerances that like are expected on a bike are not the same that are expected in a lot of other things, you know. So like yeah, I mean,
have you ever like 3D printed parts for your
bikes? So I use like classic plastic 3D printing for prototype stuff. What I'll do is to suss out a design, you know, design in the computer first, and then before I cut it out of metal, I'll usually like print it in some sort of plastic, and that way I can like physically look at it and be like, oh, it has this issues, you know, like maybe I should fix this right here, you know. But there's been this kind of advancement in metal 3D printing, so I just recently designed some dropouts that are going to be 3D metal printed. Wow. So they'll get metal printed out of 15.5 steel, stainless steel. And it's cool because like that's some like crazy technology. That machine is super expensive. I farm that out.
You know, it's got to be able to get super hot.
Yeah, it like spits out molten metal, and it has a laser that like follows it, and it melts it as it's going. Oh wow! Yeah, it's crazy. You know, it's a crazy technology. I refrain from using it in a lot of spots that other builders are doing.
You get that weird.
It can be dangerous. Like, you know, like we haven't like fully figured out like how to really design things that are strong. You know, cantilevered parts. Like there are guys like 3D printing head tubes, and they've been successful and that sort of thing. But I'm a little wary of it because I don't want to make something that could like potentially hurt somebody. Yeah. And since it's like, you know, there are issues with it, you know, the actual like metal structure, you know, is like, you know, you x-ray that, and the way that it looks under a microscope is very different from like actual steel or actual cast parts where like molten metal goes into a cast. Right. So like bicycle investment cast parts have been used like for almost 100 years now, and that's a really strong and really like known material.
Like and one chunk.
Yeah, and the properties of it, we know what things will break and what things won't. But with the 3D printing stuff, it's still some uncharted territory. But luckily, dropouts, you know, you can keep an eye on it. If it cracks, usually it's not going to catastrophically fail on you, and if it does, it's not going to hurt you. You know, you might wreck your bike, but it's probably not going to kill you if a
brakes went out.
Like a fork fucking like split off you. You're not like going head first. You might just like, you know, if you crack it here, you might just, oh shit, bike's wobbly in the back now. Oh, that's a bummer. You know, things break. You know, kind of the old engineering adage is like fail fast, fail cheap. You know, like, you know, you try to like design stuff so it doesn't fail, but if it does fail, you know, and everything will break eventually. You know, it's about trying to mitigate that and compromise your design so that you can like have a cycle life that is, you know, considered like long. You know, it's like I'm riding a bike. I have a bicycle in my collection that's from 1971. And it rides like a noodle now. The tubes are very like, but it hasn't cracked, you know, and it hasn't broken, you know, and that's pretty cool. Like a bike that's like 40 years old, you can still ride it. And so like that to me is always the goal. It's like, especially when you're buying a boutique, really nice high-end boutique bike, especially one that you're going to bike pack on and you're going to slam around. Like the tubes on this are thick. It's a pretty, you know, it's a heavy bike in comparison to a lot of stuff. But that's on purpose because like I want it to be sturdy. I want it to last long, especially if you're going to spend this much money on it, you know, and I want it at the end of the day to look like a ripe banana, you know, like it's all nicked and there's like little rust spots and shit. That means you've used it.
Character.
So it's got character.
The charm.
Yeah, it matches you. You got stories.
Yeah.
So
like what that huge scrape? What
you know how I got that? Yeah, I was going down this rock. I was like camping, you know, I was in Sedona.
Fell off my bike.
Dude, fucking fell. Skied myself up, you know.
You probably got up and kept going.
Yeah, lived another day, you know. Yeah. That's always the best, you know.
That's true.
So
okay, so if you had infinite amount of funds, what would you say is your dream bicycle design you'd love to build?
Um, I'm so used to just being like a poor punk that I'm like, I don't really need money anymore to like figure out my problems. Like I have all the tools. Like, my shop. There's, you know, if I had bought it all at retail, there's at least like $100,000 worth of tools in that shop. Like I've piecemealed stuff together. I just got a CNC machine. I haven't gotten that thing running yet, but like now I have a CNC machine in my shop in East Nashville. Like not a lot of people can say they've got a CNC machine in their garage. um, but no, I think the next step, and it'll take some capital, is like doing custom titanium. Kind of getting
Super
into
light.
getting into those materials, like more aerospace materials. I think would be something really cool. I think after this road bike model that I'm coming out with, the next model is going to be an e-bike.
Oh,
But it's going to be like, it's called a cycle truck. So it's basically like a smaller tire, like think like 20-inch like BMX size tire, but
yeah.
like fat, and it'll have like, racks integrated into the bike so that like you can like take your e-bike to like Publix down the street, load your groceries up on like a cooler that you have on the front rack, and then maybe you got your kid on the back of it, and you can just like have this very utilitarian bike. That's kind of the next step for the designs, because I don't know, like I'm getting older. I got married last year. I've been with my wife for 8 years now. Um, like kids are potentially in our future, and like, I noticed that the most people that are riding bikes in this area, they're usually riding e-bikes, because, and I'm all for it.
They can take all their children.
Yeah, they got their kids on it. They're going to the Tabla Rasa toy store.
Exactly.
Like it's cool to see the neighborhood like do that, because like it means like one less fucking SUV on the road,
Mm-hmm.
And like I feel bad like every time I go to Publix in the car, because it's like so close, but it's like just a little bit far away to ride like a traditional pedal bike for me, especially during the summer when it's so hot. But it's like if I had an e-bike, I could crush over there real quick, and then an e-cargo bike specifically, and like throw like I got my cooler on the front, and I just throw my week's groceries in there and ride back. And I think alternative transportation like that is like really important for our future. I think it still allows for the autonomy of like, that's away from like public transport, but I think, we need those solutions too, especially in this city. But like we're building bike lanes and people are out there riding e-bikes, and I think that might be the answer to like, getting the cool kids to ride bicycles. It's like, well, if it's an e-bike, it's pretty easy, it's like, you can crush around on an e-bike, and that's safer in my mind for the general public, and better for the environment than like driving your car.
Or safer than riding one of those little scooters.
Oh yeah, those scooters are terrifying, dude. I see people like, I see people get fucked up on those, man. So yeah, I want like to build something that's like an alternative transport, and I mean, I'll that'll be something that I also get produced in Taiwan, and then I assemble here. And there's a lot of logistics behind that, but I think the way like I've gotten capital going, I think I'll be able to do it. So like, I don't really need all the money in the world.
That would be really cool. An e-bike I'd probably buy from you.
Oh hell yeah, awesome. That's good to know. Yeah.
And
you still like, these e-bikes are not a throttle, so you still have to pedal. It's pedal assist.
To keep it going. Yeah.
You have to keep it going, but like once you start pedaling, it's like the motor kicks in with you, and it's like, oh man, it'll get up to 28 miles an hour. If you got it on
turbo, you start charging.
You get it on turbo mode, man, it'll fucking go. And the battery lasts like a long time. Like nice. You could easily do 40 to 60 miles on it. That's cool.
Yeah,
it's like from here to like 5 spot, it'll take you like 10 minutes, and like so much better than like trying to find parking, especially like with how many people are moving here. It's like it's unsustainable in my mind to like you know, like traffic's just going to get worse, and it's
Right.
like we got to have like ways to get around, you know, and like
Right.
I think part of that solution is like mass transit, but it's also
Individual
bicycles. Yeah,
transportation.
it's like small vehicles, you know. So yeah,
Yeah. That's yeah, help the population. I mean, especially what a better place in Nashville than East Nashville to have your bike
yeah,
shop. I mean, this is the most bohemian part of Nashville.
yeah, definitely,
You know,
yeah.
people are way more accepting and more or like interested in like alternate ways and
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
alternate things. So
Well, yeah, I mean, and that comes with like being like in a neighborhood that's like, you know, close and more dense, you know.
yeah,
It's
we
like
can walk everywhere.
I don't think a cycle truck is a solution for someone that's like living in somewhere rural, you know, or something
Yeah,
like that. It's like you know, some people need pickup trucks, you know. But I don't think most people in East Nashville need pickup trucks unless they're like doing construction work.
right,
You know, like
right,
unless you got to take all your tools with you, like it doesn't really make sense to drive your big ass pickup truck to your office job,
right.
you know. And it's like, yeah, the roads are terrible, but it's like that's kind of
The adventure.
it's the you know it's a loop, you know, it's a feedback loop. It's like, oh, the roads are shitty, I gotta drive an SUV so that my car doesn't get messed up, and so that like, you know, I don't get like slammed into by some idiot driver. It's like, well, now your big ass truck is like fucking the roads up, and you know, it's just like it's cyclical, you know, and
Right.
it's like we can't keep doing this. Like it doesn't make any sense to me,
Yeah,
you
keep
know.
fixing the same potholes over and over again.
Yeah. So
It will get interesting. I'm curious to see how engineering is gonna, or civil engineering is gonna take over, like with concrete and making new roads. What's the
yeah,
technology in the future of roads? You know what I mean?
yeah,
That hasn't
yeah,
been messed with since asphalt was created, basically.
totally. I mean, yeah, I don't think the future is in individual cars and in like individual transportation. You know, it's like that doesn't it just doesn't make sense. Like in my mind, if you extrapolate that, you know, 100 years from now, like that, we're burning the world up. You know, with
Yeah.
you know, and I don't think it's an electrical car that's going to save us. Like that's a luxury item. You know.
That's just got to become the normal, is what that has to.
Yeah,
Yeah, like that's got
yeah.
to become like
Yeah,
we got to get
20
like
years ago.
yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah,
like that should have been the normal like 20 years ago. Maybe
right.
we'd be like out of this fucking crisis, but you know, and it's not even a crisis. Like we made it, you know. You can't call something a
We
crisis
made
that
this
you
bed.
made it, you know. It's like we made it bad, you know. You know.
It's our bed. We have to lay in it.
Exactly. So, you know, I'm trying to come up with a solution,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
mean,
in the only way I can, which is
dude,
like
and every little
buy like freak bicycles, you know?
yeah, exactly. But it represents a bigger thing, and when people
Yeah,
buy into it and get on it, they can feel the mission that you've established and feel good about writing. You know, because having a mission with whatever you sell is why people buy it,
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
the fact that you have a whole backstory about each bike and what people can do with them, you know, people buy into the spirit and they feel it
Yeah.
when they write
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have to.
Yeah, yeah.
That's, yeah, we're creatures that like to, you know,
You want to be unified.
yeah. Yeah. You know, we all like being like individuals and stuff like that. We all like having our own style, and East Nashville is definitely that sort of way. You know, it's like everyone's got their own like shtick, you know.
Yeah,
So and try to sell bikes in that regard,
right.
you know, and
Awesome.
custom bikes too. Like some people like, you know, they don't want the production bike. They really do want something that's truly unique, you know, and I love doing that for people.
Because they've grown with the appreciation of what that
Yeah,
means.
exactly. Yeah. So,
Yeah. So, what inspires you creatively? What do you do to get inspired? That's maybe not necessarily bikes or.
oh, music usually. Yeah. Like I'm a big music nerd. So like I usually get inspired by like punk rock. Like I love punk music, and you know that's the stuff that gets me like juiced up to like create. I try not to look at bicycle stuff or
Yeah.
what other people do. I don't really care about that. Like I find my inspiration from like other art. You know, I've got friends that are like visual artists and, you know, create other things that like really, you know, get me excited to create my own stuff and that I can play off of that. Like, I think it's important for, I think every artist steals, and like I think it's important to steal ideas, but like to take those ideas and like cannibalize them and then make them your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I do that all the time. You know, I get ideas from other places and then I try to like, you know, rip it off, but like make it my own thing. you know,
Right.
I think like all the best artists do that. Like we're
Yeah.
always taking knowledge that we've learned from somewhere else and like making new out of that. You know, so.
What are your like your all time favorite punk bands?
All time favorite punk bands. I really like the Coneheads.
Coneheads?
Kulo is pretty cool. You know, I like all the classics. You
Like
know,
the Offspring and stuff like that, or like
more
Rancid?
like Dead Kennedys
Oh
and
yeah,
like yeah, like a lot of that Southern California like LA punk stuff
like
was
Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
like Black Flag is cool.
Oh
Like
yeah,
yeah,
Black
you
Flag.
know, like stuff that was like way before my time. But yeah, no, I mean I appreciate like yeah, like my favorite punk band of all time is actually, I know this, I was like thinking about it, but is Dystopia.
Dystopia.
yeah. I mean, you want to talk about like misanthropy, like, I was like an angry punk kid that was poor when I was younger, and it was like San Diego definitely had like, we've had like the old guy punk scene, like Drive Like Jehu and stuff like that, which are classics. And then we had like a really like freak scene with like the Locust, and like I actually like grew up next door to those guys and would hear them like practice, which was wild. They'd give me beer at like 13. But like there was like a big like kind of like crust scene because it's like nice to live in San Diego. So like if you're like a poor like a poor ass like traveling punk, like you could kind of live there. But also with Tijuana right next door, there was like a cool like Mexican like punk scene that was rad. So I was kind of involved in that. We go to a lot of shows, and like Dystopia was one of those bands that was like very unique and very just like gnarly, and it just kind of was like perfect for like my personality at the time. Just like pissed off. Yeah.
Flip the table.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like kind of, yeah, like you could flip it on, and like most people that would like listen to like, maybe if they do listen to punk and it's like Ramones style punk, they'd be like, dude, this music's fucking scary. Like it's scary.
It's like not like the Misfits where it feels like classic.
No, it's like no, like it's heavy, like, like the lyrics are like all just like super jaded about the world and human beings, and like you're like, god damn, this is like real gnarly music. Yeah, like, but it makes you feel, and that's important to me. Is like I really like music that makes me feel things.
Yeah,
and that's what gets me motivated. Is like something that can give you a feeling.
It takes you. You want it to take you away, like take you somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So
cool. So now, how long have you been in Nashville?
5 years now.
5 years.
Yeah.
What did you said your wife initially brought you?
Yeah, she's from Nashville. So we were living in Chicago. She went to school in Chicago. That's where we met, and she finished school up, and I was finishing the trade program up, and we were like thinking about where we wanted to like really start our roots, because it was like at that point it was like, well, shit, we were both ready to start careers, and I was looking at like working at a machine shop and that sort of thing, and I was like, she kind of was like wanted to be closer to her family. I wanted to stay like 2,000 miles away from mine, so win-win. It's like the weather's better down here than Chicago too, and at least at the time, it was like way more possible to buy like a house. Yeah. So I don't know about like now. There's no fucking way, and Chicago's like for some reason just as expensive. It's just
Really?
yeah, it's crazy.
I would expect Chicago to be, just because it's big. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I've never
you can
actually been
find
there,
like
but
cheap stuff like outside the area, but it's a problem that's like plaguing everywhere. You know, it's like these big corporations are buying property up and like holding on to it and like propping up the value of it, and it's like, you know, it's unfair. And that's happening here. You know, it's like it sucks.
I think
You know,
yeah, I think it's happening everywhere right now.
yeah. I try to tell people like you don't hate Californians, you hate rich people and rich Californians. Anyone from LA, I just
Yeah.
can't. I'm not about. There are some good ones. I won't. I won't say that I haven't uh, uh, disliked every person I've met from Los Angeles, but I don't understand why people live there.
Yeah.
And then, you know, obviously people are moving here from LA because they're
Dude.
like, oh, it feels like LA and it's so cheap. And you're just like, fuck you.
Fuck you,
like,
don't bring that
yeah,
with you.
buying like $1 million. Oh, this place is this buying overinflated property, you know, and it's like, I don't know, like it's
There's so much opportunity here.
yeah, it sucks, man. It's like fuck, man, and it's like I don't want to get roped into those people. Like I'm some fucking like I'm a street kid, man.
Right.
You know, like I had to leave, like you know, fucking. I left when I was 22. You know,
Left San Diego.
Yeah, and it's like 10 years later. I've been in Chicago and then here. So yeah, yeah.
So, what would you say you've learned living here?
What have I learned living here? I've learned. I don't know. This is a weird southern city. It's a strange place. It's just like brought a bunch of different types of folks here. But yeah, living in the South, I never imagined myself living in the South, and like, there's strange history here, and there's it's got its own culture and attitude that I've like started to learn about that I actually appreciate it quite a bit. I don't think it's kind of like not on anybody's mind. And like if I when I was living in San Diego, like if somebody was like, oh, Tennessee, I'd be like, fucking middle of nowhere, like like,
they would think that.
No, yeah, I would like I'd be like, oh, Nashville, cool. Like I did have one friend that like he was like his uncle had moved from East County San Diego to Nashville, and he was like, dude, it's sick. Went out there and visited. There's just shotguns and like it was like wilderness. I was like, man, that sounds so cool. Like being a city kid, I was like, fuck, man, like I want to see some like farmland and like I'm packed in like sardines, like
concrete jungle
here. But then I feel like there are a lot of people that like are from rural places that like want the opposite. They're like, I want the city life, like that kind of thing.
Sure.
And then there are people that are satisfied with wherever they're at,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Nashville, when I first moved here, I didn't like it. I like really didn't. I was like kind of, I wasn't upset about moving here, but I definitely was like, I definitely felt like I did it like for my wife, but I would never I maybe let her know that like later on, but it took time to grow on me.
Yeah.
I was just like, what the fuck is this place? Like I just didn't get it. And it was just like, it's the smallest place I've ever lived. And so there was like that whole thing, and it's just like trying to navigate like, at least the East Nashville, like, cool kid culture was like interesting. I was like,
Yeah.
Like I was just like coming from Chicago, I was like, all right, you guys aren't that cool. Fuck out of here. Like, what the fuck is this place? And I guess like, I don't know. I had a friend that moved to Austin from Chicago, and he told this story. He's like, yeah, I was like getting my morning paper and trying to get a coffee, and there was like just a guy like riding a donkey down the middle of the street wearing a Santa Claus outfit in the middle of summer, and I was like, where the fuck am I? Like, I gotta get out of here.
Where was that? That was in Austin.
That was in like Austin, and I didn't have like that extreme of an experience. Like Austin's its own fucking weird thing, but like 5 years ago, like and into now, like the way the city is growing, like we're growing in a very similar way to that. And like, I don't want, like now looking back, I'm like, man, I really don't want like that what it was like then, was like cool. And I would hear from other people like, oh, and 5 years before that and 10 years before that, this place was like so rad and so like, kind of bohemian and lawless, and it's like, man, I don't want this place to lose that character, that edge, but also weird. It's like, that's on us, and I think that was what originally kind of turned me off. Was a lot of people would complain and I would be like, yo, it's on you, homie. Like, we all live here.
You need the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, totally. It's like, who is this like town for? Like, is it for like the people that like fucking like come downtown to go to fucking Broadway? Like no, I don't think so. No. And like, we don't have to say yes to that shit.
Yeah, no.
Like especially East Nashville, and like there's been a lot of things that have like brought East Nashville together, like the fucking tornado, and it's like that was like, that wasn't a super eye-opening experience. When that fucking happened, I've never been through a tornado, and when I heard the sirens going off, my wife's like, should we get in the basement? I was like, they go off all the time. I was like a moron, dude. Like, and then it was just like just up the street, like, dude, a whole fucking neighborhood leveled, and like the amount of people that like, to see like the community, like the way, like nobody had this like individualistic, like libertarian edge to them where they were like I'm gonna protect my own, no, everyone came together and like fucking helped each other out, and it's like we can do that like always, like this should be a community. Like, we should collaborate together. We should try and like, tell people in power like what we want, and we should like shape our city for that. And so, coming from Chicago, which like has kind of that type of politics rooted in, especially like being in like the punk scene. And when I first moved here, like the punk scene was kind of had dwindled down, just because like the city had shut down a lot of like DIY spaces after like Ghost Ship,
Is that the one where the staircase collapsed?
It was like the fire in Oakland, like
in Oakland.
we had that thing. It happened in Chicago where like, people tried to shut down a lot of venues in Chicago, and the aldermans like came out and were like, no, like Chicago is like a DIY scene. So like, we're not shutting this down. We'll make sure fire marshals get in there and make sure it's safe, but like, we're not shutting DIY spaces down. Like, you don't get to be a NIMBY about that, which is cool. And like, it sucks that it got like killed here, and you have to see like a house venue turn into like a legit venue, which, like that's hard to do. Like, I think it's really cool. Like, places like Dark Matter have like been able to keep that alive, and it's like, but it, it takes away, like, doesn't feel as much of a DIY venue when it's like, you got to sell beer and tickets have to be $15 to $20. And it's like, it's not like give what you can, like, if you're a punk, it's like they have to book bigger shows to be able to survive, It's what we got to do,
people working for them, so they have livelihoods.
Yeah, I've really come to love it here. I mean, my favorite part about it is like also accessibility to nature. It's like, it's Nashville's got like the best of both worlds. It's got like a bit of the city vibe. Sometimes when I'm out in public, like there are like small glimpses of it, like, oh yeah, no, this will be a cool big city. Like, I'll see somebody like freaking out or something. I'll be like, yeah, okay, this feels right. This is a city, and then, like, but I can also just go ride my bike, and like 15 minutes later, I'm in like White's Creek.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, dude, like there's hills out here, and it's like rural, and there's farmland, and like it's like gorgeous, It's like, I wouldn't want to live in Knoxville, like, because all you get is like, yeah, you get the nature part, but like the city, I don't know, like not my vibe, it's like, it's not my vibe. And like Chattanooga, it's like Chattanooga's way too small, and it's like it's the same kind of thing. It's a Nashville, like, it doesn't have like, fucking the gorgeous Blue Ridge Mountains right there in your backyard, and it doesn't have like that North Georgia thing that Chattanooga's got, but like it's pretty good. Like, I can, like even the gravel ride I sponsor, like it's insane, like, and that's not just the mushrooms talking. I was like, it's gorgeous out here, man. It's fucking beautiful. There's rivers, and it's like, it's remote and it's amazing. And this is 45 minutes away.
Yeah, I
You
love
know?
the hills, and I love Cornelia Air Park in Shelby.
Yeah, dude.
1,200 acres.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
bigger than Central Park.
oh yeah. I mean, it's like it's killer. Like, I mean, it's so sick that we have like that space.
Yeah, and you
You
can go
know?
golfing.
And you can go golfing.
I
You can go golfing.
Yeah,
right
I
here.
know. I was like, what the hell?
I actually golfed quite a bit. I really enjoyed
Oh, really?
golfing. Yeah, I was like, well, there's a golf course here.
Dude,
and I had
yeah.
a friend that was really into it. I was like, good thing we golfing sometime.
Yeah,
I'm like
dude,
hooked, man. It's
Dude,
great.
it's fun. It's
It's fun, you know, or like if, you know, disc golf's your thing too, there's that too. You know, it's
Yeah.
like there are like mountain bike trails in this city that are like fucking
Dude,
awesome.
There's BMX.
There's
trail.
BMX stuff, yeah,
like
like down by Hamilton Creek. Like, yeah, there's
close to my house.
Oh yeah, right there. You got
Yeah,
the
right
BMX
there.
like stuff in that
Yeah.
gulch, yeah. Yeah, I mean we've got a lot of like cool like, you know, we got a lot of cool like secret spaces, and I think that was like the thing that like really sold me on the city was like trying to be like, all right, like this is not going to give me the city vibe that I wanted. I'm not just going to be able to like, you know, like with Chicago, it's like, man, you can just you can you can like walk around and find some like spot that's like been 30 years old, and it's like some ethnic food spot, and you like it's been passed down generation to generation, and like it's got this special like old school thing, you know. But that's like something that's only there, you know, and like you know, this is a very like new-ish city, you know, like we're knocking stuff that's old down and building new stuff in its place, which sucks, but you know, we're also like
economy's growing
we're creating it, you know.
Yeah.
So it was kind of venturing outside the city and like seeing like how rad all this stuff outside of it is really cool, you know. And inside of it there's like a lot of like secret mysterious spots that are like really rad. So
yeah,
I like implore, and that's why the bike is just like a great tool. Like, you know, walking's a little too slow, but like driving around everywhere is way too fast. Like if you ride a bike and you start to like look around, I want people to do that
because it does
like,
make you more.
Yeah, it makes you aware.
You're like the elements.
Yeah, you're like, oh shit, I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
Like, oh, whoa. This has always been here, you know. And it's like you need to be riding a bike at like 10 miles an hour to like realize that.
All around you.
Because otherwise, if you're just going to the same spots over and over again, like in your car, you're going to work, you're going to the same bar, you're going to, you know, like you're not going to be able to find that.
You're very idle inside your car.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like protected from all the elements.
Yeah.
You can. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely like, you know, recognize like a privilege I have to like own my house here. It's just incredibly hard for like anybody creating stuff to like make a fucking living, and it's wrong, you know. So I don't know. I'm hoping like areas like Madison start popping off. People that are creative, like, you know, hold on to that, like, and also like, yeah, don't let the bastards get you down, and like realize that you have power in numbers. You know, we all do. And if we want to stop this, like, I definitely think we can. There's more of us than them, you know. Yeah. So it's really just like wanting to fight and not being apathetic, you know.
Right.
You know, I'm all about, you know, putting fucking, you know, sticks in the machinery to like slow it down. I mean, I think that's like just from growing up being a punk. Like, you gotta like do whatever you can to like fucking destroy whatever they're doing, you know.
I mean, who knows what we'll be contending with in the next 2 years? I mean, AI.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm not too worried about that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it seems silly to me. Like, I don't think it can do what humans can do. You know.
Yeah.
You know, it can come close, but I think humans want what humans can do. You know, something that a computer does, you instantly can tell, and you're like, yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I want something human. You know?
Yeah.
So.
That's true. That's how I feel about when stuff is 3D printed. You see the kind of layer lines.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look as...
But even then, like, that had to be designed by a human being.
That's true.
You know, and it's like, you know, my 3D printed and machine stuff, it's like, yeah, it's a robot doing that, but like, I had to tell the robot what to do.
That's true.
You know, AI is going to help humans do human stuff still.
What we've already been trying to do.
Exactly. You know, but I'm not too worried about it.
You don't think it's going to be the total world threat that people think it is?
No.
That's good.
I think anybody that's sounding that alarm just wants regulation for it because they're already doing it.
And they can see how powerful it is, or
well, I think they can see how easy it is to make, and they want to make sure no one else gets in on it. You know, regular people like are we're talking about it. You know, like
true.
we're using it. You know, like we're like using AI to like create art and to create other things. And I think, yeah, the people that are like, oh, it's scary, it's gonna, it's like, no, they're the ones that have the money in it right now, and they want to make it seem so bad that they go to regulate it because they want to be the ones still making money off of it. They don't want other people to jump in on the game.
Interesting.
So make sure this doesn't. Yeah, because like, I mean, dude, like you could make like a politician like say whatever they want via AI, but people are going to be able to tell now. They're going to be like, nah,
that's true, and they'll probably have technology.
Yeah, we already know it's all bullshit. So it's like you're not. I don't think it's that scary. Like it can't do what a human being can do.
Yeah, we would be able to tell if something was off.
Absolutely, I don't think it ever will be able to do what a human being will do, and I don't think like it's gonna like become sentient and want to like destroy us. I don't know. I don't fear about that.
Yeah,
that's some like fantasy of like some Silicon Valley rich guy that has no feelings towards humanity.
Yeah, he is AI.
Yeah. They view the world that way, and I don't view the world that way.
Yeah, that's a contractionist point.
Exactly.
Not an abundance.
Yeah, they have like they see the world as cold.
If I have more, then you have less.
Yeah, they're extractionists.
Like, no, you can have more, and I can have more. We can
all have it.
Yeah.
I deeply believe that in like my politics and in my like personal ideology. Like it's that like no, we can do it together, but it takes a lot of work. That's like what I'm talking about. Yeah, it takes a lot to like have the world that like is equitable to like all of us.
So. It's a republic. It's going to take a while. It's the perfect thing.
Yeah.
But, okay, cool. What is some advice you'd give someone who's going to move here and pursue art or business, since you kind of ride both lanes?
I mean, it's tough. Like, never kid yourself that it's going to be like easy, but like, don't let that get in the way of like creating. Always make stuff. Like, if your dick is in the dirt because of the fucking bastards, like, make sure they're getting muddy too, throw it on them. Create no matter what. And if, to create something, you have to like destroy certain things. Like, I think that's necessary and good, like if you can't get space in a gallery because it's a bunch of like stuffed up motherfuckers, like make art and just put it on the street, like I love graffiti. I love destructive
rebel art.
Yeah. Like I think that's important. Like
Banksy.
If I stopped building bikes because people were like, nah, you shouldn't build bikes, like, oh, you should leave this to an engineer, you shouldn't like design things, I'd be like, I wouldn't be building bikes right now. Instead I said, fuck you. And I kept doing it, and I'm pretty damn good at it. So yeah, don't
stick to your guns.
You got to stick to what you believe in, and like never stop creating, and never stop creating art. That's my advice anywhere you live. Like if you live in rural Idaho, and you like making art, you can do it there. You might not get seen as much, but that's okay. You can develop a lot.
It's for your spirit.
The goal is not always to just like, we have like a obsession in our culture to become like famous or like be seen, and it's like, yeah, that's nice, but that comes with like actually creating something good. And we all know the people that do that, like get famous without actually having good shit, and it's like we hate those people. We don't.
Wait, the people that what?
People that like people that have no talent, but for some reason like get to like be in this artistic space, even though they don't deserve it. Like we all, real artists like recognize that, and like it can make you jaded. I don't think you should become jaded because of that. You should just go like, fuck that, and like make like make good like meaningful stuff without like without wanting to become like Instagram famous or like be somebody.
Or
it's
have
just
to
like
get paid tons and tons.
Or have to get paid. Like fuck, like I don't know. I have had to rely on this as my main business for 2 years, and it's like I haven't made a lot of money. It's been really tough.
Yeah.
It's been hard to make it work, and sometimes it doesn't work, and that's okay too. Like, I'm not going to stop building bicycles for fun if it means I can't, make a living off of it. Like I'll go work somewhere and then build a bike every other week, for friends, for amigos, for homies. Like it's not going to stop me from creating. Like I'm not going to become jaded like that. So I think that's what really separates like someone that's an artist and someone that's like truly just like wants to do it for capital or for to get likes.
Right. Whether you do the art and no one's there.
Yeah, whether you do the art and no one's looking, that's really
all that matters.
what we should do.
Yeah. Okay. So now looking back 12 years through all that you've been through, what would you say some of the biggest challenges were that you had to overcome?
Um, as far as like, I mean, the fabricating, like that's with any craft, you've got to like do things over and over and over again. But like, I think actually the biggest obstacle with any of this is space. You know, um, it takes a lot of tools to like build these bikes, and it's like space to me, especially when we're faced with rising rents, this issue. It's like I have to operate out of my garage. It's a shop that I've built behind my house. Like I couldn't afford to rent a space and pay my mortgage. Like it's impossible. So like, sharing gallery spaces, like finding space is like truly like I think the most difficult part about the business. And, if you got to do it in a shack behind your house, like do it. But if that's always been the obstacle for me. Like when I was living in Chicago, it was like, fuck, I want to be able to like do this, but I can't afford rent and I can't afford a warehouse space. So, well, I married the two together. I was like, well, I could find a warehouse. And I like lived in this big DIY punk warehouse. We'd throw shows and it was like, it was expensive to heat it, in the wintertime. And, but I was living with five of my buddies that are like, best friends. And like, we were like doing a lot of cool shit. We had like a motorcycle shop in the basement and, it's just like we're just like had a space to like build stuff, and we were also living there illegally. Like sometimes you gotta break the law to like get what you want, and that's okay. So like space is like kind of always the biggest challenge, especially with like fabrication. I if I was smarter, I would have like I would be like fabricating fences and stairs and shit like that because that actually pays money, and then this would just be a side thing. But like, this craft is kind of a curse, like I'm so obsessed with it, I have to do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to do anything else,
Yeah.
Sometimes I do pick up that type of work. So like, yeah, if you need a metal fence made in Nashville, I'll design and build it for you, like,
Yeah.
it's that work gets money, but it's
in the small fine print next to
Amigo Metalworks,
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if I can weld a bicycle, I can weld damn near anything else. So
yeah. Okay, cool. What would you say is your biggest personal growth from last year to this year?
I think understanding and managing the business side of things. It's like, okay, like I do have a product that resonates with people. Trying to like get that into like more hands has really been like the biggest challenge and the thing I've like learned how to do this year. Um, is really pushing the business and like making that the important thing.
Like the 20% that makes up the 80%.
Yeah, because like I said, the building the bicycle frame is the easiest part. It's finding the customer, it's marketing towards them. That's the hard part. That's the part that takes all the time.
80% of the 20, that small 20% of the business makes up for 80% of
Yeah,
like
exactly.
income and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I remember last time we talked about your truck.
Oh yeah. It's not done yet.
It's not done yet?
It's still sitting there.
I remember you were talking about you're like, because you repainted it and everything.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because I remember you were like, I want it to look like the normal truck, but then when they look and see the one part that's painted underneath, they'll know it's been.
Yeah, like I like other hobbies besides bicycles and making stuff, and like cars and motorcycles are definitely like a thing. Like I liked when I was younger, I really liked making models. So like,
Oh yeah.
I think like that scratches that itch, but like in a much bigger way. And so yeah, I've had it restoring this '83 Toyota 4x4. It's been 6 years. It's largely sat the last few years. But I'm trying to finish it this year. Like I really am like it needs to get out from under it's sitting in the carport now because it was in the garage, but the CNC needed to take that place. So I have it outside now, and I see it every day and I go like, fuck. Every day I'm like, God damn it. It's got to get done because it's got to stop sitting there. Like it's got to be done.
When it gets done, where will you put it?
I'll drive it.
Oh yeah.
I'll drive it. Unless somebody wants to buy it for 60 grand, so I'll do that too. Like, I'll pay for a lot of tools.
Yeah.
Probably pay for another one to do it all over again.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's it's that process that I really like. But
what kind of models did you used to build when you were younger?
Like fucking everything. I wish I kept them. Yeah, I wish I kept them, but I'd like blow them up all the time.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah. Stick firecrackers.
Yeah, helicopters. Like fucking trying to reenact Vietnam with like old Hueys. Like yeah, like
napalm.
Yeah. Spent like 100 hours like recreating a Huey. I really got into also like taking cars that I saw in the neighborhood and then like trying to find that exact model and then trying to model it like the car that had been sitting, like someone's project that had been sitting there.
Wow, so you would try to replicate what they were already trying to do?
Yeah. Wow. Which like I don't know, I thought that was
to like freak them out or like
whoa. I did a couple of times like leave a few on like doorsteps.
Like a little model car.
Yeah, like a model of like the project that they had.
Oh, I see.
Which I guess, man, that's like probably pretty traumatic. Like, as a person that like, if somebody like saw my project truck enough to like where they like made a model of it and then just like put it on my doorstep, it'd be like, fuck,
dead fried.
But not even that. It'd be like, damn, like I know I gotta finish this thing.
Yeah.
Like somebody has seen this enough where they're like,
I made this little thing to remind you.
Yeah. That's weird. I don't know. I was a weird kid, man.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Built a model and then put it on their doorstep.
Yeah. It was like neighbors and shit.
I mean,
probably knew. They were like, dude, you're weird, man. I was a loner, so
Eventually, they have a little collection of all the models that you leave on their doorstep.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what kind of media do you watch? Do you ever watch YouTube or anything like that?
Yeah, I watch a lot of YouTube. I mean,
what do you like to watch on YouTube?
Mostly car stuff. Yeah. But like machining stuff and like engineering related things. Yeah, that's my go-to. Yeah, I think it's a cool medium. Actually,
it's my favorite technological advance since 2003.
Yeah, specific. Yeah, I think like the fact I think it's untapped too. Like there are people on YouTube that are like really like they put in the work of like a syndicated television show.
Yeah,
and that's pretty cool. Like
yeah,
like that you can do that and you can get paid for it. I think it has its issues, but it's like also like, yeah, I don't know, like with all these subscription services and like no one has cable anymore. It's like all those TV shows suck anyway. It's like, I think there's like an open, I don't think it's been fully tapped yet as to like what you can do, like either as like a documentarian or as a narrative space. I think, it has evolved from like a place where you put videos of you and your friends dancing to some song to like what it is now where it's like there's like full on like practically TV shows on there that people are just creating in their own backyard. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like crap on there, but like
you filter through that.
you filter through that, and like the stuff that like is special like glows through, and like I think it's got this opportunity like as for other people to like create that stuff.
Yeah, it's like kind of like leveling the playing
it's
field.
a cool medium, you know, like technology is a lot cheaper now. Like you can buy a really nice camera and you can, you know,
Yeah.
you could like make your own little YouTube channel.
I don't need to have like a VHS of the Police playing from the 1980s. I can just look at it on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. So,
it's like it eliminates stuff from your house too.
Yeah, yeah. So.
Okay, cool. Is there anything that you would like to add that I might not have asked you
about? No, just ride your bikes.
Ride your bikes?
Yeah, ride your bikes. Go out there and ride bikes, man. It's fucking fun.
All right, cool.
Like, don't be afraid of like other cars. Don't be afraid of the hills. You know, don't be afraid about messing up your hair. Like, you can, like, I want to see a motherfucker like in full cowboy boots and cowboy hat, like riding to like the show. You know, like I think that's cool.
Yeah,
because it means you're not on a car.
Yeah,
you know,
like and it means you're on a mission.
Yeah, and it's fun. You know, like it's like it's totally worth it.
It creates self-awareness too, because you have to be aware of everything else.
Yeah, and I mean, not even that. Like you can just mob around. It's like super fun to mob around. I mean, I love rolling up to like Duke's, like on my bicycle, and people are just like, you know, me and my wife ride the tandem bike.
Dude, yeah. That's I think one of the times I saw you.
We'll roll up to like Duke's on the tandem. Everyone's always like, "Whoa!" I'm like, "Yeah, it's just fun." It took us 10 minutes to get here. It really, like, I'm not even sweating. It's like not that big of a deal, and like, I don't gotta pay for an Uber. I don't gotta like, you know.
Put my car somewhere.
Put my car, park it, you know, like drive potentially like buzzed or drunk. Like I can ride that bike like wasted. You know, I'm only gonna harm myself. Mm-hmm. You know, I try not to do that. I mean, but I have like whatever. You know, it's generally pretty damn safe. You know, and the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Exactly. Yeah.
The more like normal it seems.
Right. So, the less fear.
I'm not trying to like look cool either. Like I'm just trying to, have a fun time and get around easily and,
be on your merry way.
Yeah. Totally.
Okay, cool. Here's the last question. What is something absurd you love / do?
Something absurd I love / do. I don't know. I think it's all absurd. Like I build bicycles for a living. Who says that? Like, like I think everything's absurd. Being the like 30 plus year old in like a mosh pit is pretty absurd. Like if you go to punk shows around here, you've probably seen the like snooper shows.
Yeah,
like
I saw you at
dancing.
Snooper.
Like I don't give a fuck. Yeah, like I don't give a fuck what people think. Like like I think like you should move and like fucking like get it all out, and I'm like generally I get drenched in sweat like the first 15 minutes because I'm just like fucking in there, like just become an animal, I just like I don't know, it's like my personality is just like I forget about everything and I'm just like fuck yeah, this music is so good. And that, I mean that band especially is like super rad. Like they're so much fun. They always play with like rad people,
high energy,
super high energy. Like, and it's like I don't know, the punk scene has always been cool because it's like, yeah, like, do what you want to do, like don't yuck anybody else's yum and don't be an asshole, do no harm, take no shit.
Right. Do no harm, take no shit.
But, like be yourself. And like, I think it's cool to start seeing that kind of like scene, like it's definitely like growing here, which is cool.
Because like, junk.
Yeah, especially with soft junk. I just think like, I don't know, there's always like the cool kid music, and that sort of thing. And punk is never that, And so like, I don't care about being seen sweaty as fuck,
like
dancing
song.
as ridiculous as I fucking want to, Like
you look like you were in your element.
Yeah, I'm in my element. And like, I mean, like sure, there were like people that were like, "Damn, Zach, like." You're going wild. I'm like, yeah, it's a motherfucking punk show, man.
Spirit is fucking
singing, like this is what you're supposed to do. Like, don't be up there like in the like on the top balcony of soft junk, like being like, oh
yeah,
look at these fucking nerds dancing. It's like, fuck you, man. Like I'm in that,
Yeah.
Like I'm about
part
that.
of the chaos.
Yeah, you have to be, and like that's what, dude. That I feel like that's what like bands like Snooper want, and that's the music that they create. They won't like,
Yeah.
you know, they're trying to like collaborate and make music that brings like a community of fucking weirdos together, you know?
Yeah.
And inspires people to create shit. Like,
exactly.
you know, like I'll blast Snooper in my shop, you know, like fuck, I mean, I'll be like, just to get myself amped up, like fucking dancing alone. And that's probably the most absurd thing I do. Is probably dance alone in my metal shop, just to get myself amped to do something. Like being like, fuck yeah, dude. Like I'm just blasting the loudest fucking music possible. You know, and like
it's gotta hit you.
It's gotta make you feel. So
yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely the most absurd thing I do.
Okay, cool. Well, Zach, thank you for coming over.
You're welcome.
And doing this again.
Yeah, that was fun. This was good because, you know, I was like worried. I was like, I'm glad it took like a year for this to happen again, because I was like, man, if we do this in like 2 months after doing this, it's just gonna feel like regurgitated.
Yeah.
So like this, there's been enough time. You're gonna have to explain to the folks that you forgot to hit record, because they're gonna be like, what are they talking about?
I mean, this has happened to me many times.
Jordan forgot to hit record, but
yeah, I pulled a rookie move,
but we're getting something better out of it,
yeah,
and that's okay. Mistakes happen, and like you know, you got to make mistakes to like create good art.
So, yeah, if I had failed then and stopped, we wouldn't be here.
No, you're still doing it. I'm glad you're still doing it. It's good to hear people's voices and opinions on art. So,
well, now they get to hear yours.
Hey, hopefully they like it.
Oh yeah, they will.
Cool.